Imagine this for a second, an old Washington quarter, dark, scratched, badly worn, sitting unnoticed in a junk drawer for years. Most people would never give it a second look. But hidden inside some of these forgotten coins are details that collectors are willing to pay serious money for. And that's the shocking part. The coins we're talking about today are not shiny museum pieces. These are rough-looking quarters, coins with heavy wear, black damage, faded designs, and years of circulation behind them. Yet some of them became highly collectible because of rare mint errors, unusual history, and tiny details most people never notice. In this video, we'll go through 6 Washington quarter-dollar coins in bad condition that still manage to surprise collectors. You'll learn what signs to look for, why certain mint marks matter, and how even damaged coins can sometimes carry incredible value. So before you spend your old change, make sure you watch this carefully. Now, let's start with the first coin. First up, the 1966 Washington quarter, a coin without a mint mark, and the example we're talking about today has a very worn, dark appearance. The surface has turned nearly black in some areas from years of age, dirt, and exposure. It doesn't shine. It doesn't sparkle. In fact, it almost looks forgotten. But that's exactly what makes this coin so interesting. Now let's travel back to 1966 for a moment. America was going through a time of change. The country was busy, growing, moving fast, and coins were part of everyday life in a very big way. People used cash constantly. Every store, every restaurant, every gas station depended on coins moving through the economy. And during this period, the U.S. Mint was under pressure to produce enough coins for the public. That's one reason coins from this time are unique. The Mint had removed mint marks from coins for several years during the mid-1960s. So if you look at this quarter, you won't see a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. There's simply no mint mark at all. That tells us it came from Philadelphia during a time when mint marks were temporarily removed to discourage collectors from pulling coins out of circulation. Now think about that for a second. This coin came from a very specific moment in American coin history, a time when the mint was trying to solve a nationwide coin shortage. And yet, decades later, people are studying these same coins more carefully than ever. Now let's look closely at the coin itself. On the front, George Washington faces left, just as he has on quarters since the early 1930s. Above him is the word Liberty, and beside him, In God We Trust. The date 1966 sits below. But on this particular coin, those details may not look sharp anymore. Years of circulation have softened the design. The high points, especially Washington's hair and cheek, may appear flat and smooth. And then there's the color. This coin has what many people would call a dirty black appearance. The surface has darkened heavily over time. Some areas may look almost charcoal gray or black, especially around the lettering and deeper parts of the design. That kind of color change can happen after years of handling, moisture exposure, dirt buildup, and natural aging. Now some people see a coin like this and immediately think it's ruined. But collectors often see something different. Because that dark surface, those marks, that wear, all tell a story. This coin has clearly been used for decades. It moved through pockets, cash registers, drawers, and maybe even across different states. It survived years of everyday life, and somehow, it's still here. Turn the coin over, and you'll see the familiar eagle design. The eagle's wings are spread wide, holding arrows and an olive branch. Around it are the words United States of America and quarter dollar. But just like the front, the reverse has wear too. The eagle's feathers may be softer now, not as detailed as they once were. Still, the design remains recognizable, even after all these years. Now here's where things start to get exciting. Coins from 1966 can sometimes show unusual mint errors or small varieties that collectors search for very carefully. During the minting process, millions of coins were being produced quickly, and mistakes could happen. Some coins may show doubling in the letters or numbers. Others might have slight off-center strikes or unusual surface features. And here's the important part. Even a worn coin can still have those features. That's why experienced collectors don't just look at shiny coins. They study circulated coins too, because hidden inside all that wear, there could still be something rare. Now let's talk about value for a minute. Most 1966 quarters in heavily circulated condition are not worth a fortune. That's the honest truth. Many are worth only a small amount over face value. But when a coin has something unusual, a rare error, a special variety, or an uncommon feature, the value can rise very quickly. There have been examples of coins like this reaching values around $265,000 or more when collectors discover something truly rare about them. Now think about how surprising that is. A dark, worn quarter, something many people would ignore, suddenly becoming worth serious money because of one small detail. That's why looking closely matters. So if you have a 1966 quarter like this, what should you do? First, examine it carefully. Use good lighting. Tilt it slowly under the light and study both sides. Look at the letters, the date, the edges, and the overall surface. Sometimes the smallest detail can make the biggest difference. Second, and this is extremely important, do not clean the coin. I know, when a coin looks dark or dirty, the first instinct is often to clean it. But cleaning can destroy value very quickly. It can scratch the surface, remove natural aging, and make the coin less desirable to collectors. Even if the coin looks cleaner afterward, the damage is permanent. Collectors almost always prefer original surfaces, even dark ones. So leave the coin exactly as it is. Handle it gently by the edges if possible, and store it in a safe holder to prevent further wear. If you think the coin may have something unusual about it, consider sending it to a professional grading service. They can inspect it closely, confirm its condition, and identify any rare features that could increase its value. And if the time comes to sell, there are several good options. Local coin dealers can give you a quick opinion, online marketplaces connect you with collectors worldwide, and major auctions can attract serious buyers if the coin turns out to be rare. But whether the coin is valuable or not, there's something important about holding a piece of history like this. This quarter has lived through decades of American life. It was there during changing times, moving quietly from person to person, year after year. And even now, worn, dark, and aged, it still has a story to tell. Next up, the 1984 Washington quarter dollar with a D mint mark, and this coin has clearly seen a hard life. The condition is heavily circulated, with deep wear across the surface and dark black damage covering parts of the coin. At first glance, many people would think a quarter like this has no chance of being valuable. It looks old, rough, and heavily used. But in the coin world, appearances can fool you very quickly. Back in 1984, quarters were moving constantly through the American economy. People used them every single day for parking meters, soda machines, laundry rooms, arcade games, and public pay phones. Coins didn't stay clean for long. They bounced around in pockets, scraped against keys, and sat in cash drawers for years. This particular quarter likely spent decades in circulation before finally slowing down somewhere along the way. The D mint mark tells us this coin was made at the Denver Mint. That small letter matters more than many people realize because collectors often separate coins by mint location. A Philadelphia coin, a Denver coin, and a San Francisco coin from the same year can all have different demand levels depending on rarity and condition. Now when you look closely at this 1984 quarter, the first thing you notice is the wear. Washington's hair details are heavily flattened from years of handling. The cheek area looks smooth compared to a fresh example, and the eagle on the back has lost much of its feather detail. The rims may also appear softer in some places because circulation slowly wears down the edges over time. But the black surface damage is what really changes the look of this coin. Some parts of the quarter may appear dark gray or nearly black, almost like the surface was burned or stained. This usually happens after years of exposure to moisture, dirt, chemicals, or harsh storage conditions. Maybe the coin sat in an old toolbox, a basement, or even outdoors for some period of time. Over decades, metal reacts to the environment around it, and that reaction creates unusual colors and textures. Now here's where collector interest becomes important. Some collectors actually enjoy searching through heavily circulated coins because worn coins sometimes hide rare details. During the minting process, tiny mistakes could happen. A coin might show slight doubling in the letters or numbers. Another might have strike problems or unusual die marks that only careful collectors notice. And because most people ignore rough-looking coins, those discoveries can sometimes go unnoticed for years. That's why experienced collectors still inspect coins like this carefully under bright light. Even with heavy wear, certain errors can still be visible if you know where to look. Now let's talk about value in a realistic way. A normal 1984 D quarter in heavily circulated condition with black damage is usually worth only face value or slightly more to someone who collects older circulated coins. The damage and wear lower the standard collector value because condition always plays a major role in coin grading. But there's another side to this story. If a coin like this happens to carry a rare mint error or unusual variety, the value can jump dramatically. Certain rare examples connected to striking mistakes or special characteristics have reached values from a few $1,000s all the way into the high-end collector market. Strong uncirculated examples with rare features have even pushed toward values around $275,000 under the right conditions. That's what keeps collectors searching through old quarters year after year. Not every coin becomes valuable, but every once in a while, somebody finds one that changes everything. Now, one mistake many people make with dark coins like this is trying to clean them. That is usually the worst thing you can do. A cleaned coin often loses collector appeal because cleaning damages the original surface. Scrubbing, polishing, or using chemicals can leave tiny scratches and unnatural shine that experts spot immediately. Even though the coin may look better afterward, its collector value can drop fast. So if you own a coin like this, leave it exactly the way it is. Instead, hold it carefully by the edges and store it somewhere dry and safe. If you think the coin has something unusual about it, use a magnifying glass and good lighting to inspect the details closely. Look at the date, the mint mark, the lettering, and the eagle design. And if something stands out, getting the coin checked by a professional grading service may be worth considering. Professional grading can confirm whether the coin has a real mint error or collectible variety, and that information matters when selling. Speaking of selling, there are several ways collectors move coins like this. Local coin dealers can offer quick evaluations, online marketplaces connect sellers with collectors across the country, and major auction sites can attract serious buyers if the coin turns out to be rare. But even beyond value, this quarter still tells a story. It survived decades of circulation, rough handling, and environmental damage, yet it still exists today. That alone makes it a small piece of living history. And sometimes, the coins that look the most worn out end up becoming the ones people remember the longest. Next up, the 1998 Washington quarter dollar with a D mint mark, and this is the kind of coin that makes people stop searching through loose change for fun, and start searching with real excitement. Because this coin has a story that feels almost impossible. At first glance, it doesn't look impressive at all. In fact, it looks rough. The surface is dark, dirty, and heavily aged. Parts of the coin show deep black discoloration from years of exposure and circulation. The shine is mostly gone. The metal looks tired. If someone found it in a parking lot or inside an old drawer, chances are they would ignore it completely. And that is exactly why coins like this sometimes become hidden treasures. The year 1998 was a strange moment in American coin history. Most people had no idea that the famous state quarters program was about to begin the very next year. Collectors were starting to pay closer attention to modern quarters, but ordinary Americans still treated them like everyday pocket change. So millions of 1998 quarters were spent without a second thought. They moved through grocery stores, restaurants, gas stations, and vending machines every hour of every day. Nobody imagined that years later, collectors would study certain 1998 quarters with magnifying glasses, searching for tiny details worth serious money. Now let's talk about this specific coin. The D mint mark means it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the largest coin production facilities in the United States. Denver produced enormous numbers of quarters during the late 1990s, but something important happened during that process. A small number of coins began showing unusual characteristics that collectors could not ignore. Some displayed striking abnormalities. Others showed signs of doubled details or dye damage that created subtle but valuable differences. Most people never noticed these details because they are often tiny, almost invisible without careful inspection. But collectors noticed. And once collectors notice something rare, competition begins. That's where this story changes completely. Because the coin world today is very different from what it was decades ago. Modern collectors move fast. They search bank rolls, estate sales, coin jars, and online auctions every single day looking for overlooked treasures. The moment a rare variety becomes known, people rush to find one before prices climb even higher. And suddenly, an old dirty quarter becomes the center of attention. Now picture this coin closely. Washington's portrait still remains visible, but the highest areas show wear from years of circulation. The hair details are softer than they once were. The eagle on the reverse has lost some feather sharpness. Around the edges and deeper areas of the coin, heavy dark toning and black discoloration cover parts of the surface. Most people would call it damaged. Collectors call it interesting. Because original aging, even dark ugly aging, can sometimes help prove a coin has not been cleaned or altered. And in the collector world, originality matters. Now here's the part that shocks people. A standard circulated 1998 D quarter with heavy wear usually carries only small value beyond face value. That's the normal reality. But when the right mint error, rare variety, or exceptional preserved example enters the picture, the value changes dramatically. And I mean dramatically. Certain high-grade examples and rare error versions connected to the 1998 Denver quarter market have pushed into astonishing territory, with collector demand driving prices toward $320,000 under the right conditions. Now think about that carefully. A coin people once tossed into tip jars, now reaching the kind of value that could completely change someone's financial situation. That's not movie fiction. That's why modern collectors search so aggressively today. And here's what makes this even more exciting. Many valuable coins are still undiscovered. They are sitting inside old containers, mixed into inherited collections, hiding in rolls from the bank, or buried in forgotten change jars across America. Some are still being spent every day because the average person has no idea what to look for. That's why examining coins carefully matters. If you ever find a 1998 D quarter with unusual dark surfaces, strange doubling, odd lettering, or anything that feels different, slow down and inspect it closely. Use good lighting. Tilt the coin gently. Study the mint mark, the date, and the lettering around the edge. And whatever you do, don't clean it. A lot of people panic when they see black dirt or discoloration and immediately try to scrub the coin shiny again. But cleaning destroys originality. It creates scratches and removes the natural surface collectors want to see. Once cleaned, a coin can lose major collector interest instantly. Leave it exactly the way you found it. If something about the coin stands out, professional grading services can help confirm whether it carries a real collectible variety or mint error. That certification becomes extremely important when serious money enters the conversation. And when collectors compete for the best examples, prices can climb fast. That's why coins like this create so much excitement in the hobby today. Not because every 1998 quarter is rare, but because somewhere out there, a few special ones exist. And those few coins keep people searching. Because the next incredible discovery could happen anywhere. Inside an old cash register. At the bottom of a coin jar. In loose change from a grocery store. Or sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket right now. Next up, the 1977 Washington quarter with a D mint mark, and this coin tells the kind of story collectors love because every mark on its surface proves one thing: this quarter was used hard for a very long time. You can see it immediately. The moment you look at the front of the coin, Washington's face already shows years of wear. His cheek looks flatter than it did when the coin first left the mint, and the fine hair details above his ear have been worn down from decades of circulation. Flip the coin over, and the eagle on the back shows the same story. The breast feathers have softened, the wing details are no longer sharp, and the whole design carries that tired look only older circulated coins can develop after years of moving through thousands of hands. And then there's the surface itself. This quarter has scratches, tiny contact marks, little nicks around the rim, all the signs of a coin that spent years bouncing through pockets, drawers, cash registers, vending machines, and coin trays. It was never protected. Nobody carefully stored it away. This was a working coin, one that actually lived the life it was created for. Now here's why that matters. Back in 1977, quarters were everywhere in American life. You needed them constantly. Arcades, laundromats, parking meters, pay phones, quarters moved non-stop through the economy. People didn't stop to study them because they were considered ordinary. The Denver Mint alone struck massive numbers of quarters that year, all carrying that small D mint mark beneath the date. But time changes the way people look at coins. Today, collectors don't just chase perfect shiny examples. Many also enjoy heavily circulated coins because they show real history. Every worn detail, every rim nick, every scratch is proof that the coin survived decades of everyday use. And sometimes, hidden inside all that wear, there can still be something important. During the minting process, mistakes occasionally slip through production. A coin could show unusual doubling, striking problems, or tiny die variations that most people never noticed while spending them. Years later, collectors began studying these details much more carefully, and suddenly certain coins from ordinary years became far more interesting. That's exactly why people still search through old quarters today. Now let's talk about this coin's condition more closely. The wear here would place the coin firmly into circulated condition. The highest parts of the design have lost detail, but the date and lettering remain readable, which is important. A completely worn-out coin loses collector appeal quickly, but a coin like this still keeps enough detail for collectors to appreciate the design and identify possible varieties. The scratches and rim nicks also tell us this coin saw heavy handling over the years. Coins stored loosely together constantly hit one another, leaving behind those tiny marks. Some people think damage automatically means a coin has no value, but that isn't always true. In fact, many collectors care more about rarity and unusual features than perfect appearance. Now here's where things get interesting. A normal 1977 D quarter in this kind of circulated condition usually isn't worth a fortune. Most examples remain modest in value because millions were produced. But when collectors discover rare errors, unusual die characteristics, or exceptionally strong surviving examples from the same year, prices can rise fast. And some collectors are willing to pay serious money for the right coin. Uncirculated examples with sharp detail and original luster already bring stronger attention because finding untouched older quarters becomes harder every year. But if a rare mint error enters the picture, the value moves into an entirely different world. Certain rare high-grade or error-related examples connected to quarters from this era have reached values pushing toward $280,000 in the collector market when the right combination of rarity, condition, and demand comes together. That's the part that surprises people most. A quarter that once bought a cup of coffee decades ago, now carrying the kind of value usually connected to luxury cars or houses. And the reason is simple. Rarity creates competition. The fewer special examples collectors can find, the harder they compete to own them. Now if you ever come across a 1977 D quarter that looks unusual, the best thing you can do is slow down and examine it carefully. Use bright light. Tilt the coin gently and study the lettering, mint mark, and design details. Sometimes doubling or striking errors become visible only from certain angles. But one thing you should never do is clean it. That's one of the fastest ways to destroy collector interest. Even though the coin may have scratches and dirt already, cleaning changes the original surface permanently. It creates unnatural shine and tiny hairline marks that experienced collectors spot immediately. Original condition matters, even when the coin is worn. If you think the coin may carry something unusual, professional grading services can help identify errors and confirm authenticity. Once certified, coins become much easier to sell because buyers trust professionally graded pieces far more than raw coins. And when it comes time to sell, collectors today have more options than ever before. Local dealers, online marketplaces, and major coin auctions all attract buyers searching for overlooked pieces from older Washington quarter years. But honestly, the most fascinating part of this coin is not just the value potential. It's the survival. This quarter survived years of use, years of rough handling, and decades of circulation without disappearing. Most coins slowly vanish over time through damage, loss, or melting. But this one kept moving through history until finally landing in front of someone willing to stop and actually look at it. And sometimes, that second look is where the real discovery begins. Next up, the 1979 Washington quarter dollar with a D mint mark, and this is one of those coins that people pass by every single day without realizing what they might be holding. Seriously, if you opened a jar of old change right now, there's a good chance you could find one sitting there quietly between a few pennies and nickels. And that's what makes this coin so interesting. Because nothing about it screams valuable at first glance. It looks normal. Familiar. Ordinary. But sometimes, ordinary coins hide extraordinary stories. Now think about America in 1979 for a second. Gas prices were rising, disco music was everywhere, and people still carried pockets full of coins everywhere they went. Quarters mattered back then. You used them for arcade machines, soda machines, laundromats, and public telephones. This quarter wasn't sitting in a collector case when it was made, it was out in the real world doing its job. And somehow, decades later, many of these coins are still around. This particular 1979 quarter came from the Denver Mint, which is why you'll see the small D mint mark near the date. That tiny letter tells collectors exactly where the coin was struck, and mint marks always matter in the coin world because different mint locations can produce different varieties and errors. Now let's look at the condition of this coin. This one is circulated, but not destroyed. It shows light wear mainly on the highest parts of the design. Washington's hair has softened slightly from years of handling, and the eagle's breast feathers on the back no longer look razor sharp. But here's the important part, most of the design details are still bold and clear. That means this coin held up surprisingly well over the years. A lot of circulated quarters lose their detail fast. The more a coin moves through people's hands, pockets, and cash drawers, the more the surface slowly wears down. But coins with only light wear still attract attention because they show history without losing too much of the original design. And collectors notice that balance immediately. Now here's something that makes 1979 quarters especially fun to search. The late 1970s produced a huge number of coins, but quality control wasn't always perfect. Tiny minting mistakes slip through production now and then. Some quarters show doubling in letters or numbers. Others have die cracks, weak strikes, or unusual surface features that separate them from ordinary examples. Most people never notice those details. But collectors absolutely do. That's why experienced coin hunters spend hours checking old quarters under magnifying lights. They know that one small detail, one unusual mark, can completely change a coin's value. And honestly, that's where the excitement comes from. Because you never know what you're going to find until you actually look. Now let's talk money for a minute, because this part surprises people every time. A normal circulated 1979 D quarter with light wear usually isn't worth a fortune. In most cases, it's worth only a small amount above face value depending on condition. But that changes very quickly if the coin has a rare feature. A strong uncirculated example with sharp details can already bring much more interest from collectors. Add in a verified mint error or rare variety, and suddenly the value moves into a completely different world. Some rare high-grade examples connected to the 1979 Denver quarter market have reached prices around $295,000 or more when collector demand becomes intense. Now just imagine that for a second. A coin that may have bought someone a cup of coffee decades ago, now being treated like a treasure. That's the magic of coin collecting. The smallest object can carry enormous value if the right details line up. Now if you ever find one of these quarters, especially one with strong details still visible, take a closer look before spending it. Check the surface carefully. Look at the lettering. Study the mint mark. Tilt the coin under a light and watch how the details appear. And whatever you do, don't clean it. A lot of people think cleaning makes a coin more valuable because it looks brighter afterward. But collectors usually want original surfaces, even if the coin looks old or slightly dull. Cleaning can leave tiny scratches and unnatural shine that lower collector value fast. So leave the coin exactly the way it is. If something about the coin seems unusual, maybe the strike looks odd or the lettering appears doubled, it may be worth getting checked by a professional grading service. They can confirm whether the coin carries a real collectible feature or not. And if it does, that's when serious collectors start paying attention. Because in today's market, competition for rare modern quarters is stronger than many people realize. Collectors are constantly searching for coins with unusual traits, especially examples that survived circulation better than expected. And coins like this don't always stay hidden forever. Sometimes they turn up in old family collections. Sometimes they appear inside forgotten bank rolls. And sometimes, they show up in ordinary pocket change when nobody expects it. Which means somewhere out there right now, another 1979 D quarter with a hidden surprise might still be waiting to be discovered. Now we move to the final coin, the 1996 Washington quarter with AP mint mark, and honestly, this coin looks like it has been through everything imaginable. Heavy circulation, deep wear, old damage, rough color, faded details, this is the kind of quarter most people wouldn't even pick up off the ground. But sometimes, the last coin in the pile is the one people remember most. This quarter came from the Philadelphia Mint, marked with the small p beside the date. By 1996 American coins were moving faster than ever through the economy. Think about how many hands this quarter may have passed through over the decades. Grocery stores, gas stations, restaurants, vending machines, parking meters, this coin probably traveled thousands of miles without anyone paying attention to it. And now, years later, collectors look at coins like this very differently. Because condition tells a story. The moment you see this quarter, the wear stands out immediately. Washington's portrait has lost much of its sharpness. The hair details are flattened down from years of use, and the cheek area looks smooth from constant handling. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers are heavily faded, especially around the chest and wings. Even the edges may appear softer than normal after decades in circulation. And then there's the overall appearance. This coin has that old, tired look collectors know well. Dark areas across the surface, uneven color, scratches, stains, and signs of age everywhere. Some spots may look almost dirty brown or gray-black from years of exposure to moisture, oils, dirt, and air. It's not attractive in the traditional sense, but it feels real. This is not a coin protected in a vault. This is a coin that lived in the real world. Now here's where things become interesting. Most people assume only shiny coins matter. They think valuable coins must look brand new. But experienced collectors know that heavily circulated coins can still hold surprises. During the minting process, small errors and unusual varieties sometimes slip through production unnoticed. And years later, those tiny differences become important. Some 1996 quarters have shown interesting strike variations, die cracks, or doubled details that collectors actively search for today. Most are subtle. You usually need good lighting and patience to notice them. But once a rare feature is confirmed, collector interest can rise very quickly. That's why people still examine rough-looking coins carefully instead of throwing them aside. Now let's talk about value, because this is where the story changes completely. A heavily circulated 1996 P quarter in poor condition is usually worth only face value in normal situations. That's the truth. Heavy wear and surface damage lower the standard collector price. But rare coins don't follow normal rules. If a coin like this happens to carry an important mint error, an unusual variety, or some unique feature tied to collector demand, the value can move into shocking territory. Certain rare examples connected to modern Washington quarters have reached prices around $300,000 when condition, rarity, and collector competition all come together. And that's what keeps people searching. Not because every old quarter is valuable, but because every once in a while, somebody finds one that changes everything. Now if you ever come across a 1996 P quarter in rough condition like this, the first thing to remember is simple: don't judge it too fast. Old damage, dirt, and wear may hide important details underneath. Use a bright light and look carefully at the date, mint mark, lettering, and overall strike. Tilt the coin slowly and watch how the surface reacts under light. And no matter how rough it looks, do not clean it. That's one of the fastest ways to destroy collector interest. Cleaning removes natural surfaces and creates scratches experts can spot immediately. Even dark, ugly toning is usually preferred over an artificially cleaned surface. So leave the coin exactly the way you found it. If something about the coin seems unusual, maybe the lettering looks doubled or part of the design feels different, you can always have it examined by a professional grading service. That step can confirm whether the coin carries any real collector value. And when it comes time to sell, knowledge matters. Some people sell coins too quickly without realizing what they have. Others take the time to research, compare, and let collectors compete for rare examples. Because in the coin world, patience can make a huge difference. Now here's the part one love most about coins like this. This quarter was never supposed to survive in collectible condition. It was made to circulate, wear down, and eventually disappear into history. Yet somehow, after all these years, it's still here. Worn down. Damaged. Aged by time. But still carrying its story. And maybe, somewhere tonight, another old 1996 quarter just like this is sitting forgotten inside a drawer, waiting for someone to finally notice it. And that's what makes coin collecting so exciting, because every one of these old Washington quarters started out the same way. They were ordinary coins, made to be spent, passed around, and forgotten. But over time, wear, mint mistakes, rarity, and history turned some of them into coins collectors search for every single day. We looked at dark coins, damaged coins, heavily circulated coins, and quarters most people would never think twice about. Yet hidden inside those worn surfaces could be valuable details that completely change the story. That's why it's always smart to check your old change carefully before spending it. And remember, never clean your coins. Even if a coin looks dirty or black, cleaning can damage the surface and lower collector value fast. Keep coins stored safely in small holders or soft containers, away from moisture and scratches. And if you think you may have something rare, services like PCGS or NGC can professionally grade and authenticate the coin for you. Because sometimes, the most valuable coins are the ones nobody expected to matter. And one of these coins could be hiding in your home right now.